Hello history buffs, time travelers and scholars. History isn't all campfires and kumbayas. Some Native American tribes had very creative ideas for dealing with captive women. Think less Disney princess, more, what in the Buffalo BBQ is happening here? Brace yourself for the wildest, weirdest ride through history you didn't see coming. The context of captivity. To understand why Native Americans captured women, we need to look at the larger picture of life during that time. In the early years of American history, the land was a constant battleground between colonists and Native American tribes. Colonists wanted to expand their settlements, while Native tribes fought to protect their homes, resources, and way of life. These conflicts were often brutal, with both sides resorting to violence to gain the upper hand. For Native tribes, capturing women, men, and children during raids wasn't just about revenge or cruelty. It was often about survival and strategy. When a tribe lost members in battle or to disease, they needed a way to rebuild their community. Capturing people from enemy tribes or even colonists helped them do this. Women were particularly important because they could play roles in child-rearing, performing essential tasks, and sometimes even increasing the tribe's population through marriage or adoption. But it wasn't just about rebuilding. Captivity also had a strategic element. Captives could be used as bargaining chips during negotiations. For instance, tribes could use captured colonists to demand the return of their own people or to secure resources from the settlers. In other cases, the act of taking captives was meant to send a clear message of power to rival tribes or colonists. We can defend ourselves and strike back if needed. The conditions that led to captivity were often violent and chaotic. Raids typically involved sudden attacks on villages or settlements, where homes were burned, livestock stolen, and people either killed or taken prisoner. Women and children were the most likely to be captured because they were seen as less likely to resist or escape. For the captives, life changed in an instant. One moment, they were living in their homes. The next, they were whisked away to unfamiliar lands by people who spoke a different language and followed customs they couldn't even begin to understand. Some faced harsh treatment, while others were absorbed into the tribe, becoming part of its social structure. This mix of fear, survival, and cultural blending set the stage for what would happen next in their lives. If you're enjoying this wild ride through history, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. There's plenty more jaw-dropping stories where this came from. Treatment of captive women. The treatment of captive women by Native American tribes varied widely depending on the tribe, the circumstances of their capture, and the captives themselves. While some faced harsh conditions, others were integrated into tribal life and treated as members of the community. These differences reveal the complex cultural practices and survival strategies of Native tribes during this turbulent time. For many tribes, captive women were not seen as mere prisoners, but as resources to help rebuild their communities. Tribes often suffered heavy losses in battles or from diseases brought by colonists. To recover, they needed people who could contribute to daily life and sustain the community's future. Captive women were sometimes adopted into the tribe and given new roles as wives, caretakers, or workers. In some cases, these women adapted to their new lives, learning the tribe's language and customs, and even forming strong bonds with their captors. However, not all captives were treated kindly. For some tribes, capturing women was also a form of revenge. If a tribe had suffered greatly at the hands of their enemies, they might use captives to express their anger and grief. This could lead to physical punishment or harsh labor. Captive women might also be used in rituals or ceremonies that reflected the tribe's traditions or beliefs about enemies and outsiders. There was also a practical aspect to captivity. Women were often spared during raids because they could perform essential tasks like cooking, gathering, and caring for children. Unlike male captives, who were more likely to face execution or enslavement, women were seen as more useful alive. This pragmatic approach didn't guarantee safety, but it often gave women a better chance of survival. In some cases, captive women were used as bargaining tools. Tribes might trade them with other tribes or with colonists in exchange for weapons, food, or the return of their own captured people. This added another layer to their captivity, as their fate could change based on negotiations or tribal alliances. The experiences of captive women depended greatly on their ability to adapt and the intentions of the tribe that captured them. For some, captivity became an opportunity to build a new life within a different culture. For others, it was a painful chapter marked by fear and suffering. By examining these varied treatments, we uncover the human side of these historical conflicts and the resilience of those who endured them. Cultural practices behind captivity. Captivity among Native American tribes wasn't just about survival or revenge. It was deeply tied to their cultural beliefs and traditions. For many tribes, capturing people during conflicts was part of their way of life, shaped by centuries of customs and the need to adapt to changing circumstances. Understanding these practices helps us see captivity not just as an act of violence, but as a complex tradition with its own meaning and purpose. One key reason for taking captives was the belief in the importance of replacing lost members. When a tribe lost warriors or family members in battle or due to disease, captives could fill these roles. Women, in particular, were seen as valuable because they could contribute to the tribe's future by raising children, performing essential tasks, and even becoming a part of the family through adoption or marriage. This wasn't just about practicality. It was a way to honor those who were lost and ensure the survival of the tribe. In some tribes, captives were used in rituals that reflected their spiritual beliefs. These rituals could vary greatly. For instance, captives might be integrated into the tribe through a ceremony, symbolizing their acceptance as a new member. On the other hand, in rare cases, captives could become part of rituals meant to seek justice or appease the spirits of those who had been killed. These practices might seem harsh today, but they held deep spiritual significance for the tribes. The way captives were treated also depended on their age, gender, and the tribe's needs. Children were often adopted into families and raised as full members of the tribe, while men might face harsher fates, such as execution or enslavement. Women occupied a middle ground. They were sometimes treated with care, becoming important members of the tribe, but could also be subjected to hard labor or punishment, depending on the circumstances. Another cultural aspect of captivity was its role in diplomacy and power dynamics. Captives were sometimes used as symbols of a tribe's strength, showing rival groups or colonists that they were not to be underestimated. They could also be used as bargaining chips to negotiate peace, alliances, or the return of captured tribal members. Captivity, while often born from conflict, was deeply woven into the fabric of Native American culture. It wasn't just about taking prisoners. It was about survival, spirituality, and maintaining balance within their communities. These practices reveal a nuanced view of captivity that goes beyond the simple idea of war and violence. The role of women in Native American tribes. In Native American tribes, women played crucial roles that went far beyond what many people might assume. While their experiences as captives were often shaped by the violence and disruption of war, the way women were treated in their own tribes offers important context for understanding their role in captivity. Many Native American societies had distinct views on gender, and women were often seen as the backbone of the tribe, with responsibilities that were both respected and valued. In many Native American tribes, women were responsible for the majority of the work that kept the tribe running. They were involved in farming, gathering, and preparing food, as well as taking care of children, elders, and the home. Women were often seen as the keepers of the family and the tribe's traditions. Their power in family and community life was considerable, especially in matrilineal societies, where lineage and inheritance were passed down through the mother's side. When it came to captivity, these roles took on added importance. Captured women were often valuable to the tribe because of their ability to continue performing these essential tasks. In many cases, women were not just taken as prisoners, they were seen as potential contributors to the tribe's daily life and future. They were expected to learn the tribe's ways, and over time, often became deeply integrated into the tribe's structure, taking on new roles and responsibilities. Despite these responsibilities, captivity could also mean a loss of power for many women. For instance, while women were highly respected within their own tribes, their status could shift dramatically once they were captured by an enemy tribe. They might be forced to perform tasks like labor or servitude, and their personal autonomy could be reduced depending on the tribe's customs. For some, this shift could be a deeply traumatic experience, as they went from being respected members of their own society to being treated as outsiders or property. However, not all women had the same experience. Some tribes viewed captured women as potential allies or even wives, and their status within the tribe could improve over time. In certain cases, women who were captured could marry into the tribe and even gain significant influence within the community. They might become important figures in the tribe's social, economic, or spiritual life. The role of women in Native American tribes before and after captivity shows a duality of respect and vulnerability. While they were seen as central to the tribe's survival and culture, Captivity could flip their status and subject them to harsh realities. Yet, despite these challenges, many women found ways to adapt and survive, finding strength in their new circumstances and helping to shape the tribes they were absorbed into. Survival strategies and adaptations. Surviving captivity was no easy task for women taken by Native American tribes, but many developed strategies and found ways to adapt to their new lives. Whether they were captured during raids or as part of a larger conflict, women had to adjust to a dramatically different way of life, often in hostile environments. Their ability to adapt often determined whether they would become full members of the tribe or remain isolated and mistreated. One of the key survival strategies was learning the language and customs of the tribe that captured them. Women who could speak the language and understand the tribe's customs had a much better chance of being accepted into the community. Many captives were taught the ways of the tribe, from hunting techniques to social etiquette, and they often became skilled in tasks like cooking, weaving, or child-rearing. Some even gained respect for their ability to contribute to the tribe's needs, which helped them integrate into their new lives. In addition to language and customs, some women found strength in their personal resilience and adaptability. Being able to remain calm and composed, even in the face of hardship, helped many captives survive their situations. Women who were resourceful, quick to learn, and able to make the best of their circumstances often earned the respect of those around them. This resilience not only ensured their survival, but also allowed them to thrive in their new environments. Another important survival strategy was forming bonds with other captives or tribal members. Women who had family members or other captives with them often found comfort in these relationships. By supporting each other, they could better navigate the difficulties of captivity. Additionally, women who were able to forge connections with key members of the tribe, whether they were other women or influential leaders, sometimes gained protection or status. These relationships could serve as a safety net and improve their chances of surviving and eventually thriving in the tribe. For some women, survival also meant negotiating their position within the tribe's social hierarchy. While they were sometimes relegated to hard labor or treated harshly, women who displayed intelligence, skill, or leadership could rise in status. In certain cases, captives were eventually able to marry into the tribe, gaining a respected position as a wife or mother. This marriage was often seen as a way for the woman to fully integrate into the tribe, and it allowed her to become an active, respected member of the community. The psychological and emotional toll on captive women. The emotional impact of captivity on women was profound. Being taken from their homes and families caused immense grief, fear, and loneliness. Many women faced the trauma of violence, losing loved ones, and the uncertainty of their future. The fear of the unknown and the harsh conditions they lived under only added to their emotional burden. In addition to the grief, many women suffered physical abuse, which left both physical and emotional scars. The trauma of forced labor, punishment, or sexual violence made it difficult for them to trust or form new relationships. However, some women adapted by forming new emotional bonds with their captors or other tribe members. Over time, they sometimes found a sense of belonging and purpose in their new lives. Despite the immense psychological toll, many showed remarkable strength and resilience, coping with the trauma and, in some cases, finding new identities within their captor communities. Nonetheless, the emotional scars of captivity often stayed with them for the rest of their lives. And that's a wrap on this deeply unsettling